Evans sat in the front row at the second big assembly of the year. The kids from the last few homerooms hadn't found their seats yet, so there was plenty of noise. Hart turned and looked around the auditorium, sweeping his eyes from left to right. There were still a lot of unfamiliar faces in the crowd, even after 2.5 months of school. Then, as the last group of kids sat down, Hart saw something he had never noticed before. What Hart saw was the complete sixth grade, almost 400 students. The thought that came to him was like a vision, a burst of understanding. And Hart said to himself, "We're Palmer kids now." In the town of Brentbury, kids went to the kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grades at Collins Elementary School or at Newman Elementary School. Like two streams tumbling down different sides of the same hill, the Collins kids and the Newman kids bubbled along separately for 6 years. Those two streams of children flowed together for the first time at Palmer Intermediate, where they became a swirling pool of sixth graders. Palmer Intermediate School contained the sixth grade, the whole sixth grade, and nothing but the sixth grade. Every fall, it took a couple of months for the new sixth graders to stop thinking of themselves as Newman kids or Collins kids. By October or November, it began to sink in. We're the Palmer kids now. So Hart was right on time. Hart Evans liked being at Palmer Intermediate. It was so different from elementary school. Part of that had to do with the building. Everything was bigger. Bigger gym, bigger cafeteria, bigger playing fields, and a big auditorium with a full stage. Until about 15 years ago, Palmer had been the junior high school, and that's what it felt like. That's also how Palmer School was run, like a junior high. All the kids had lockers, they had homeroom in the morning, and then moved from class to class, subject to subject, teacher to teacher for the rest of the day. It was a whole new school experience. Making the jump to Palmer Intermediate made Hart feel like he was finally getting somewhere. One of Hart's favorite things about Palmer School was that his little sister Sarah was somewhere else. She was in the fourth grade now, 2 years behind him back at Collins Elementary. Since her first day of kindergarten, Sarah had been like a piece of gum stuck to the bottom of Hart's shoe. She had never missed a chance to tease or bother or embarrass her big brother. Plus, Sarah was nosy and a huge tattletale. And she had never ever accepted the fact that Hart was the most popular boy at Collins Elementary School, which was true. Sarah didn't understand why everybody liked her brother so much, but clearly they did. Who always had 15 guys crowding around his table at lunch? Hart. Who got picked first at recess for baseball or dodgeball, even though he wasn't the best player? Hart. And who got invited to everybody's birthday party, at least 2 invitations each week, all year long? Same guy, Hart. Sarah knew a different side of Hart Evans. At school, he was Mr. Cool. At home, he was more like a nerd, or maybe a mad scientist. Hart even had his own workbench, which was a really old, just an old corner desk. It had 4 skinny legs and 1 wide drawer that ran across the longest side of the triangular top. He'd spotted the desk at the end of someone's driveway one Saturday morning on the way back from soccer. "Mom, quick! Stop the car! I need that desk. It's perfect." "Honey, that's just junk. You already have a nice desk." "But that one's for schoolwork, Mom. I need a place where I can make things and mess around, like for science projects." "It'll fit right in the corner back by my closet. You won't even know it's there." But his sister Sarah knew it was there. When Hart wasn't home, she would snoop around to see what kind of goofy stuff he was up to, like using the electric drill he'd gotten last Christmas to make tiny holes in pennies and bottle caps and acorns and pencils and just about everything else. Like using glue to make sculptures out of nails and chunks of rock and rusty nuts and bolts. Like making huge fake boogers out of dried rubber cement, or using bits of blue and green bottle glass to make weird little stained glass windows. And how had Hart melted all those plastic milk jugs into that big lumpy mess? And why did he have so many different kinds of rubber bands? Bags and bags of them. Ever since nursery school, Sarah had been trailing along 2 years behind her brother, and her identity was always discovered. "Your last name's Evans, right?" That was usually the first question. Then Sarah would see the teacher size her up and slowly put it all together: the shape of her face, her blue eyes and sandy brown hair, her slim build and slightly above average height, just like her brother's. And then the teacher would get this cheery look on her face and say, "Oh, yes, you must be Hart's little sister, right?" And Sarah would nod and smile. By second grade, she had stopped smiling. And in third grade, Sarah had said, "Yes, Hart is my fantastic, wonderful, glorious older brother, and I would appreciate it if no one mentions his name again, ever." Sarah's friends would say, "Hart Evans is your brother? He's so cool." And Sarah had to explain that based on her observations, Hart was actually a total dweeb. But all of that was in Hart's past. Sarah didn't even ride the same bus with him anymore. At Palmer Intermediate School, Hart was on his own. Palmer kids. Looking around at the sixth graders, Hart wrestled with the idea. He couldn't put it into words, but he got a strange feeling, like he was looking at himself in the rearview mirror of a time machine. He saw that these 400 kids were going to travel into the future with him. These were the kids he'd be on teams with in junior high and high school. They'd go to football games and dances together. They would get their driver's licenses and go hang out at Pete's Diner. These were the kids he would graduate from high school with. These Palmer kids. He was looking at his class, really looking at it for the first time. Then Hart Evans, the visionary seer of the future, remembered the tangled wad of rubber bands in his pocket, and in a split second, he was a sixth grade kid again. Not that Hart had any immediate plans to launch a rubber band. No way. Not during an assembly. And certainly not from the front row. Much too dangerous. Hart hadn't been caught shooting a rubber band in over 2 years, and he planned to keep it that way. No, the rubber bands in his pocket were for later, after lunch. Because after lunch it would be time for chorus. And in Hart's opinion, a few well launched rubber bands were just what the sixth grade chorus needed.